Welcome back, America. A lot going on in the world. We're here with our friend Senator Tom Cotton. He's chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and a combat veteran, a good man. Tom Cotton, we see Russia, China, North Korea, India. The hell else was there? Iran and the rest of them kind of pulling together, but particularly China, Russia, North Korea. What do you make of this?
Good evening, Mark. It's no surprise China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran as well have been part of a kind of undeclared axis now for many years. Democratic presidents like Joe Biden and Barack Obama didn't want to acknowledge it, wanted to stick their head in the sands. President Trump, in both his first term and now, has taken the threat seriously. The good news is that the United States, with our friends and allies in places like Israel, Japan, South Korea, Europe, have much more economic might, and we have stronger militaries, and we have a president that's willing to lead that coalition. And that's why it's so important that we rebuild our military, because as he said just last week, strength is what has brought peace in so many places around the world, and that we confront the real threats from Russia and China, Iran, and North Korea, and we don't pretend like somehow we're to blame or that America caused these problems or that we can somehow placate these adversaries whose fundamental problem is with a world order in which America holds primacy, in which America is the world's superpower. But President Trump understands that a world in which America is the leader is a safe and prosperous America.
You know, Senator, I see the president is building up the United States military after Biden, taking all the woke poison out of the Department of Defense. Hegseth's doing a fantastic job over there. Our recruiting numbers are through the roof, as a matter of fact. Also, he took out the Iran nuke sites. The Venezuela narco trade has been put on notice, more than notice. He's going to blow them out of the water if he has to. He's made it clear the Panama Canal, the Communist Chinese cannot control it, even though they're trying to get back in. And he's made it abundantly clear he wants that canal back because it was given away outrageously some decades ago. He points out that Greenland is a key strategic nation. And right now, the country that kind of oversees it is really in no position to defend it. Meanwhile, the Russians and the Chinese are building up in the Arctic Circle, military presence there. And he's muscled up NATO and so forth and so on. Let me ask you a question. He wants to call and is going to call our Defense Department, the Department of War, which was its name all the way up to, I think, 1947 or 1949. Does Donald Trump sound to you like he believes in peace through strength or isolationism, appeasement, and pacifism? Does he sound to you like a prudent, strong leader and statesman?
Mark, he doesn't just sound like someone who believes in peace through strength and who's a prudent, strong, resolute leader. He is a strong and resolute leader. And we saw that probably in no better instance than in the strikes on Iran. He didn't want to have military conflict. He wanted to disarm Iran's nuclear program. He tried the path of diplomacy. He gave Iran 60 days. They shunned his overtures. On the 61st day, Israel, with American support, went in and started bombing those facilities. And once they had softened up Iran's air defenses and done all the damage they could, then we came in through the United States Air Force and delivered the knockout blow with abilities that only our military has. It was a model of cooperation between the United States and a model ally, Israel. It could be a model for cooperation with other allies now that they're rebuilding their defenses as well. But what you saw in the strikes in Iran was strength and resolution, and that is the surest way to preserve the peace. You had many hysterically predicting that Iran was going to kill thousands of American troops, that somehow we're going to see $30 a gallon gasoline in America, that Russia and China, and for goodness sakes, Brazil and South Africa were going to rally to Iran's defense. You saw none of that, and you didn't see a major war. You saw peace because Iran was scared witless, and Russia and China stood up and took notice, did nothing at all. That is the very model of strength and resolution, and yes, peace through strength.
When we come back, Senator Tom Cotton, Putin and Russia. I think Donald Trump has done everything humanly possible to try and talk some sense into Putin. but it appears that Putin is not going to have sense talked into him. Where do you think we go from here? Where do you think he goes from here? I think he's messing around with the wrong hombre in President Trump. We'll be right back. Welcome back, America. Senator Tom Cotton, where does Putin go from here? I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to conquer Ukraine, not with NATO, and I don't think with President Trump. So what do you think? He just wants to grab as much land as he can in the best position he can, or who knows?
Well, I think he's miscalculating because I think he's underestimating President Trump once again. You would think he would have learned his lesson from the first term and also from President Trump's decisive leadership on the Iranian strikes. But President Trump has shown clearly over the last 8 months that the problem, as we've known all along in Ukraine, is Vladimir Putin. He wants peace. President Zelensky wants peace. President Putin does not. And he's continuing to refuse to even sit down and negotiate with President Zelensky. It's clear after more than 3.5 years that he's bitten off more than he can chew in Ukraine. There's been very, very minimal progress on the front lines, really in either direction for some time now. Whatever chance Ukraine had to win a decisive victory was squandered when President Biden pussyfooted around for the first year or two of this conflict and didn't provide them with the weapons they needed when they needed it in the volume they needed it. So what President Trump is trying to do is bring a measure of peace and stability to allow Ukraine to defend its current front line of troops and borders and get back on its feet economically for the future. He's continually pointed out to President Putin that there's many cards the West has left to play here, whether it's seizing Russian assets that are held in the United States and really mostly in Europe, or imposing new sanctions. And if President Trump wants to go down that road, that I know the United States Congress will stand right behind him and give him the authority that he needs.
And Xi in China, who is a brutal dictator, and I mean, it's funny how the genocide he's committing against the Uyghurs get almost no attention whatsoever, as well as Christians and Tibetans and so forth and so on. And his desire to take Taiwan persists. He's looking at all this. He's a participant in some of it. Do you think he's more or less likely to invade Taiwan during a Trump presidency?
Well, if he's calculating rationally, I think he's less likely because he sees what President Trump has done with Iran. He sees what President Trump has done with Russia and Ukraine and some of the decisive actions the administration has taken to restrict advanced technology from being exported to China. He also sees the military buildup that Congress just authorized with $150 billion of new investment in the big, beautiful bill in our military, and what we're doing to accelerate the shipment of weapons to Taiwan and help Taiwan build up its defenses. So I hope Xi notices all of this, recognizes that he's no longer working with Joe Biden, and understands that there would be serious consequences if he took any action to try to forcibly annex Taiwan to China, including well short of an invasion if he, say, launches serious cyber attacks or try to impose some kind of blockade on the sea or the air. What the United States wants with Taiwan is the peaceful status quo across the Taiwan Strait.
You know, I think if he tries a full-scale military invasion of Taiwan, it's not going to be as easy as he thinks. Same with, like with Russia, with Ukraine. They could be underestimating the power of that little island and the willingness of those people to fight, and allies in the region who also view China as a grave threat, whether it's South Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and of course the Philippines. I think he might well be biting off more than he can chew. If he does it, doesn't mean he won't. Senator Cotton, God bless you, my friend. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Mark.